Good afternoon, my name's Clarke Carlisle, Chairman of the PFA, and you're watching Football Exclusives.
Footballexclusives.co.uk. Follow us on Twitter.
This is Alex Loughlin for Football Exclusives here with Clarke Carlisle. Clarke, we're here at the Kick It Out conference this afternoon. In your opinion, how big an impact is the organisation having?
Well, I think that Kick It Out's had a monumental impact on football as an industry. If you talk about the situation in the 70s, the late 70s, where racism was endemic and accepted, in football. The abuse that players and supporters received going to and from football was disgusting, and it's due to the hard work of people like Brendan Batson and Danny Lynch and Danny's predecessors here at Kick It Out that have enabled the education and awareness message to spread throughout football. So it has done a lot. I think the key point is that the job isn't done. There's plenty more work to do.
You mentioned the job isn't done there. What do you feel is the next step for Kick It Out?
The next step, the key to fighting discrimination, I believe, is in education and awareness. So it's vital that they maintain the life skills and awareness sessions with young children, with school children and with young apprentices, so that we can get this total inclusion message in the bone, in the fabric of our game in years to come. There's a train of thought that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I completely disagree with that. I think that by interaction and discourse you can definitely break down barriers. I've experienced it in my own life, and I believe that if we continue to take this message out there to get as many people who may have preconceived ideas to interact with one another, whether it's of different race, culture, creed, faith, sexuality, sex, if you get people together and talk about, especially football, it's such a binding topic, you recognise the similarities one to another, you realise that the ideas that you may have had about a person are so far off the mark, and you learn to respect and appreciate one another as human beings.
You mentioned the size of football there. How important is it to spread it not just in the Premier League but all the way down to grassroots levels as well?
Vitally important. I think it's actually more important that these messages go out at the grassroots level, and especially at the youth level, because like I said, that's how you get into the fabric of an industry. You get to it at its roots, and the youth are the future of any industry. The youth are the future of life. The importance of the guys at the top of the game is that their actions are copied and imitated the very next morning, by supporters and young influential lads who aspire to be the next Stevie G, the next John Terry, the next Rio Ferdinand. And we need to make sure that these guys are mindful of their responsibilities, mindful of the impact of their actions, and that they are wholesome impacts that they're having.
You mentioned role models there. Of course, recently there's been the whole episode of John Terry. Do you feel that the authorities are actually doing their best to solve the problem at its core, or trying to just sweep it under the carpet a little bit?
The authorities' hands are tied at present, because the CPS has hold of the case, so whatever they would or wouldn't want to do, they're restricted by due process. Would I want them to have done anything differently? Do I think they're going to do the right things? I think you can only pass comment when it's done and dusted. So when the court case is finished and when the FA have concluded their investigation and passed their judgment, then I'll pass comment.
Branching off slightly, you're currently the PFA chairman. Garth Crooks earlier mentioned that 22 years ago there wasn't very many black coaches and managers, and that it still is the case slightly now. Is that something you want to improve slightly in your reign as PFA chairman?
Well, I don't think it's something that I can personally improve, and I don't think it's something that will change with a Gettysburg rally. You know, this is something where you have to address all the contributory factors, and one of the base factors is the qualifications of the pool of BME candidates. Now that is something where we've seen the percentages grow year on year from back when Garth was talking. I don't even know if there were any guys on the courses, the coaching courses, and since the courses and qualifications became mandatory at certain levels of our game, we've seen the uptake increase steadily to now where I believe it's at 21% of successful candidates are black, mixed or ethnic minority. Now it's only when that continues and that grows year on year we can see the progression of qualified candidates actually, you know, filling positions within the industry. As I don't know, it's a shame because it's a slow process, but they will have to do the apprenticeship, so to speak, of coaching and managerial, the coaching and managerial business, which will probably warrant, you know, starting with youth coaching, maybe coming in as reserve first team coaches before they get the prominent positions. It's fantastic to have leading lights like Paul Ince and Chris Powell, Chris Houghton, you know, hopefully paving the way for BME English-based managers, because we had the likes of Rude Hullett and Joan Tigana back in the day. Yeah, so it's an ongoing fight. We need to make sure that the individual is empowered, because I do believe that the attitudes are changing in the industry, and as the old guard start to filter their way out of the industry at the top end, and we see the young, vibrant, multicultural, open-minded individuals taking control of football and football clubs and football organisations, we'll see a dramatic shift.
You mentioned Paul Ince and that. Do you feel that black managers' failures are overemphasised? Obviously he was sacked at Blackburn, but he did so well at MK Dons. Do you feel that's a concern?
Yeah, the focus on the success and or failure of an ethnic minority manager does have an impact. You know, it's interesting how I think Paul Ince was playing a game against Chris Powell, and it was highlighted and promoted as the black versus black manager scenario, and it can almost be a self-defeating battle, you know, because that is intensely the focus instead of them just being two guys who are doing their job, and it's striking the balance of that. So we do want to champion the progression of black managers to the ethnic minorities so that they see them as leading lights and empower them, you know, to maybe follow course. But I don't think that the relative success or failure of a black mixed ethnic minority candidate should be overanalyzed, because you'll be able to find a million examples of worse records and probably a million examples of better one. Their salient point is the fact that they are there doing a competent job.
And finally, come the end of your career, do you hope that the current chances of black managers and kick it out in general will have improved vastly from where we are now?
Most definitely, yeah. And I think that will happen with progress with initiatives like the Rooney Rule. And you know, as a trainer thought the Rooney Rule is positive discrimination, but I don't believe it is. I think it's it gives increased opportunity. It gives balanced opportunity. Football is a very closed shop. You see that a manager will take his whole backroom staff with him. When he gets a new job, he will put them all in place. So if you're not part of a current network of backroom staff, it's very, very difficult to get a foot in the door. So you know, taking control of the the selection process and the application process, and making sure that there is a wide range of candidates on offer in a selection pool is one way of addressing the opportunities for qualified coaches and managers to get jobs.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Alex. Thank you.
Footballexclusives.co.uk